Are you ready to meet your finalists in the Pokemon Trading Card Game Senior Division? Me too. Please welcome to the stage, from the United States, Grant Shen! And from Germany, Kaya Lichtleitner! Kaya and Grant, please shake hands. We wish you a very good match. Go ahead and take your seats. And casters, let's get this game started.
This Gardevoir and Sylveon deck was a known quantity going into this tournament for sure. Not as popular as the Reshiram and Charizard deck. It wasn't kind of a mainstay of the format, you know, in the top 3 decks. But it has been something that we've seen players succeed with. Grant, of course, taking it all the way to the finals here. But something we didn't expect to see. Maybe, you know, it wouldn't be one of the top decks people expected.
Yeah, it ended up doing overperforming, I kind of think,
Agreed.
in day 1 of Worlds for the Masters division. Quite a few of them made it through, or at least started off the tournament 5-0. So it's definitely a great deck. It's just preys on those specific matchups. And if your opponent has the ability to take one-hit knockouts on your big tag teams, then it's a little rough.
Right, and that's kind of the risk that you run when you decide to play a deck that's so focused on this kind of one strategy, is if your opponent happens to be able to go over the top, kind of mitigate that strategy in any way, it's going to be rough for you. We're going to take a look at some prized cards now.
Victini Prism in the prizes that could be detrimental, especially with it towards the later half of the prizes. It's one of Kaya's ways to really take a big knockout late game and bring back those energies.
Victini Prism Star may end up being an issue here. Looks like we're taking some mulligans on the other side of the table, so we'll take a few more minutes to set up. So what is the turn, what does it look like if Grant's going to win this game? What do the early turns look like? We've already said we think he might be a little bit behind just based on the matchup. What are the first couple turns of this game going to look like if Grant is to be victorious?
Well, it's all going to come down to how fast Kaya starts. If she starts going off with her welders, remember, the best thing about this deck is it only plays 4 supporters, and those are 4 welder. Kaya is looking to welder every turn, any turn, and if she does that, it's going to be her game to really control. But if Grant's able to stick a power plant in play and kind of stymie Kaya's setup a little bit, he might be able to just make the game go long enough to where he can take advantage.
All right, power plant versus welder is going to be the early game here. Let's go ahead and take a look at Grant's prizes.
All right, it's important. All right, the reset stamp is not in the prizes. Does have a Green's Exploration prize, so that's his
Nothing as
best
important
card.
as that stamp, though. And the Green's Exploration does kind of make the deck function, but again, we talked so much about how that stamp is so important. He's leaning on that, so not having it prized is going to give him the highest opportunity to actually win this game.
Yeah, and the one thing about this Gardevoir and Sylveon GX deck, too, is it really chooses to build a big hand. It plays those 4 Coach Trainer. You only play 4 Tag Team Pokemon, so Coach Trainer is always a draw 4 cards. So it really just builds a critical mass of all these heal cards and different disruption cards in its hand. And Kaya doesn't actually play a reset stamp or a judge or a way to even interact with Grant's hand at all.
Yeah, not very interactive is Kaya. She will be playing first, of course, starting with that Jirachi, indicative of the type of the deck that Kaya is playing, the Reshiram and Charizard. She is not playing, you know, the Green's Exploration version. She is playing the ability version, which I think is maybe the more successful version actually at this tournament today.
Yeah, definitely for sure. We did see 3 copies of Reshiram and Charizard in top 8 of the Masters division. It was a pretty split in there, both greens and abilities making it in. But here we see the Jirachi Stellar Wish doing what it does best. Finds the Cherish Ball, which is exactly what Kaya needed. She already has the Welder N2 energy in her hand.
So immediately Kaya is showing the power of Jirachi, having this explosive turn, finding the Cherish Ball. We talked about how important Welder was going to be. She only really wants to just be weldering over and over again, and it looks like that's what's going to be able to happen.
Yeah, and this is the kind of thing that Grant has to be worried about. Kaya's going to eventually end this turn with 3 energy in play on her Reshiram and Charizard GX. Meanwhile, looking from Grant's hand, I think he's only going to be able to attach an energy and then attack to charge up his bench.
And there it is. The Welder, one of the most powerful cards. We've been talking about it all weekend. Attached to energy, draw 3 cards, accelerating energy and drawing cards. What more can you ask for in a supporter? There's a 3rd energy for the turn.
Even has a Vulpix to put down on the bench. She did discard the Ninetales off that Acrobike, but does have the 1 in hand as well. Must be nice.
So tell us about the Vulpix and the Ninetales. It's not really a super common thing we've seen in a lot of the other Reshiram Charizard decks.
Yeah, well, so ever since the rotation of Guzma, players have been trying to figure out a way to manipulate your opponent's bench, bring up their guy that they've been charging up, this big tag team Pokemon, and eventually take easy knockouts. Well, Ninetales is one of the best ways to do that. You just need to discard 2 Fire Energy to bring up one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, and Kaya opting for that over playing like a 4 of Custom Catcher.
Now we are seeing Grant's turn here. He just had to actually play a couple of Custom Catchers just as one-ofs there.
Yeah, that's not too good. Does have an Energy Spinner going second, so he will be able to get 3 energy if he wants. But other than that, this hand does not look too good for Grant here, and he's going to already be playing on the back foot.
Yeah, whenever you see a player open up with a Custom Catcher draw, play another Custom Catcher is never where they want to be. He is going to be able to attach energy. He has plenty of energy in his hand for next turn, of course, like you said, but a much more anemic start compared to Kaya's.
All right, and there we see the Fairy Song searching his deck for 2 Fairy Energy cards, attaching to his bench, Gardevoir and Sylveon GX, and a pass of the turn. Kaya not having a Welder in her hand, but with that Jirachi Stellar Wish, is definitely able to find it.
Jirachi does wake up, so that Stellar Wish will be active again for Kaya, really leaning on the abilities. You know, the Greens version of this Reshiram Charizard deck you've seen throughout the tournament is much more focused on the power of Greens exploration. This one, of course, is saying, all right, you know, I have all these abilities, especially things like Jirachi to help me out in the early game. So I can afford to be a little bit more flexible with the cards that I'm playing in my deck.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a Fiery Flint, discards the Vulpix and a Fire Energy, getting 4 Fire Energy from her deck. Really just thinning out her deck for the Stellar Wish. She's looking for that Welder, has a switch in the hand already, so she'll be able to attack this turn if she wants, or even just dig further with another Stellar Wish.
And it can be one of the downsides of this sort of deck is that you are leaning on those Welders so much. Of course, you do have those Jirachis to find them, but it's really important, as you said at the top of the show, it's really important that you are able to Welder just as early and as often as possible.
Yep, and Kaya playing that 18 Fire Energy, again, similar to toward Reklov in the Masters Division. Really just showing that, yeah, you don't need Fire Crystal. This is probably the most interesting way Charizard has been played, because usually it's kind of
look what was found off the Stellar Wish there. It is the Welder, so everything is going perfect for Kaya.
Yeah, Kaya's actually going to be able to take a knockout here with Double Blaze if she wants to. Has the switch in hand, so Welder attached 2 energy to the Charizard, attached for the turn, switch, 300 damage coming down.
Yep, just the casual 300 damage on the second turn of the game. This is how we predicted that things would go. Just the Reshiram and Charizard deck overpowering the Gardevoir and Sylveon deck, and it looks like that's what's going to happen here. That big Reshiram and Charizard tag team.
Kaya only has 2 Fire Energy in her hand, so playing the switch, drew another one, so she's looking for a Giant Hearth here. Hits it off the 5 cards. Ooh, but there's a Welder as well.
Yeah, again, the power of Jirachi, just being able to take whatever cards you want. You know, you thin out your deck so much, and then the top 5 cards of your deck were just usually finding you some kind of powerful trainer card.
Yeah, because she had the option of if not hitting the Welder, but getting the Giant Earth, she could have played the Ninetales and actually brought up the bench Gardevoir and Sylveon. But having that Welder for next turn is just even better, because already having another Reshiram and Charizard in her hand, she is set to win this game very quickly.
Yeah, I think Kaya's going to be very happy with that. 3 prizes on the second turn, a fully built up Reshiram and Charizard, Welder in hand, Reshiram and Charizard in the hand as well. This is Kaya's game to win here.
And that's just the power of this Reshiram and Charizard deck, especially the way that she has it built. It is just non-stop aggression.
Well, and really just going back, you know, looking over the whole weekend of the World Championship, especially the games you and I have casted, it just is the power of Welder, right?
Yeah.
Just the power of that draw power, that energy acceleration, just not something you usually see put together on one card. And it just shows you how powerful that can be and how it can just take over games as early as the second turn.
Yeah, it has definitely been the best card this weekend. 24 copies of Welder in the top 8 for Masters Division. That means
does not surprise
6 of the decks played 4 of them. And then top 4, every deck had 4 Welder.
Yeah, it does not surprise me. Welder is absolutely absurdly powerful, and we're seeing Kaya play it to its fullest extent here.
Acrobike hits a Denene GX off but doesn't even really need it. Her hand is amazing right now anyway. Ton of fire, another Reshiram Charizard, and that welder that she got from the previous turn. Ooh, here is the Heatran. It's an attacker that just takes 2 prizes off the board, so it's kind of a little bit of a safer play to attack with some of the times to really take a 2-hit knockout on these Gardevoir and Sylveons.
And we do see the welder attach to the Heatran GX, something that we really saw kind of have its breakout moment here at the World Championship in this sort of deck. It's been a really successful tech. Obviously, Kaya here is appreciating it. It's taking her all the way to the finals.
Looks like she's eyeing down that Pokemon communication, or just depending. And here we go. Just an outrage. And that is 180 damage going down on that Gardevoir and Sylveon. It will be knocked out next turn unless Grant is able to heal off a bunch of damage. That's what his deck is known for, but I think there's only one Great Potion in his hand here.
Looks like just a Great Potion and a bunch of energy, another Gardevoir and Sylveon. He is going to play it, but is it going to be enough?
Yeah, so now 180 damage on that Gardevoir and Sylveon, but that Heatran GX might be able to just take it. I'm looking at that Fairy Charm. I don't know if that's the ability one or not.
I can't tell either.
I think it's the Ultra Beast one. If it was the ability one, Heatran would not be able to take the knockout.
Looks like we are going to see a retreat into the unscathed Gardevoir and Sylveon. And
all right, but this spells disaster. 2 fire in Kaya's hand already. You see her pulling it forward. She has game 1 on lockdown. No reset stamp coming into play from Grant here. Really just never drawing a supporter.
Yeah, I mean, Grant just didn't really make any reasonable game actions here. Of course, did not have the power plant at any point in the game. Didn't have the reset stamp power plant combination that we talked about. Could be so powerful versus her. And this is, on paper, this is kind of how the game was supposed to go.
Well, we're saying power plant would have been super effective, but Kaya has not even played into power plant. She's not used her Denine GX at all. It's just welder, 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 game.
Yeah, and that shows you the power of just being able to be very consistent and just go, I'm gonna welder, I'm gonna accelerate. My guys are gonna do more damage than you. I have, my own little version of custom catcher here, but it's a lot easier to do. And Kaya takes a very, very decisive game 1 victory. It didn't even look hard.
Yeah.
We thought the matchup would be one-sided. Of course, a timely reset stamp for Grant may have helped there, but wow, that was just an incredibly decisive victory by Kaya, and we may see a quick match here.
Yeah, we were kind of joking, like with this matchup, it's very in the favor of Reshiram and Charizard GX. And you saw it there, being able to double blaze as early as turn 2 to take a knockout on that tag team Pokemon is just insane to think about. And she did it with ease.
Yeah, it wasn't even, everything that Kaya did just seemed so simple, right? It was just, I'm going to Jirachi, I'm going to find a welder, I'm going to attach all this energy, I'll attack a couple times. It wasn't as if there was a tense moment where we had to, really get down and go into the tank and think about what's the play that's going to pull me out of this one. It was just, I'm going to do the obvious thing, I'm going to attack, and I'm going to win the game and be that much closer to being a world champion.
Yeah, Grant is definitely going to need to find his Greens explorations this game. It is his one way to really get set up. And I was saying, like, this deck really loves to build a giant hand, but he just never was able to get the ball rolling. And having to deal with that constant pressure Kaya was putting up, just too much.
Yeah, I mean, Grant's deck just didn't really function that game. We saw his first turn started with custom catcher, draw a couple cards, play another custom catcher, draw a couple cards, maybe tagging some energy, but just never finding a Greens exploration, never really finding a supporter, and never just really doing anything that mattered, right? He was going through the motions, playing out his turns, but the poor draw on his side mixed with the raw aggression of the Reshiram and Charizard deck, he was never in that game. But
all right.
I'm sure he's hoping that game 2 will be a little bit different here as he takes a mulligan.
And that's never what you want to see. You have that so much one-sided game 1, and then your deck is known for taking a ton of mulligans. You're just giving Kaya so much more advantage to try to draw into that welder.
Yeah, you're already down a game. You know that your opponent's deck relies on kind of having this one card or a combination of cards that can find that card, and every mulligan just hurts more and more. That is just the first one. So Grant is really his back is against the wall here. Down a game at the finals of the World Championship, needing to win 2 more versus a bad matchup. Had a really rough game 1 and is taking another mulligan.
All Kaya needs, like, yeah, as long as I draw my welders, this matchup is pretty easy.
Yeah, Grant, of course, just saying, all right, I really need to be able to set up a little bit better greens exploration. I need to be able to chain those. You know, he's got to know. You know, players at this level know what the matchups are like. He's got to be honest with himself and say, I know it's probably going to be a pretty tough one for me to win, but obviously I'm here at the final stage. It's Championship Sunday. I can't not try. And these mulligans have got to be disheartening, though.
All right, does he get a basic? A ton of energy in that hand. Oh, there's the greens. I think we see a basic. All right, we have a game here, folks.
All right, game 2 after what looks to be 3 mulligans. Kaya is only 1 game away from becoming world champion. Grant, a little bit on the back foot, is going to need to win 2 more in a row, but we are off. Grant, of course, will be going first. He does have the greens exploration, of course, and now we will be able to see his deck function.
Ooh, and the power plant. That is pretty big here, but you see Kaya pulling that giant earth to the front of her hand with 3 acrobikes as well.
Yeah, the power plant, you want to play it early, you know, you have to play it down, but it's immediately going to get bumped. The stadium battle is very real in this format and this matchup. We do see that greens exploration, so one of the things that really makes this deck function, again, if you have no Pokemon with abilities in play, search your deck for 2 trainer cards. A very powerful effect that relies heavily on deck building restrictions, but can also just find you whatever you need in the exact moment you need it.
Yeah, and look, you even see Grant going for that reset stamp this early.
Well, I mean, this early, you know, he could play it in a turn or 2
Yeah.
and put Kaya down to 3 prizes if the game goes the same way as last time.
And then with an energy in hand, he'll be able to charge up again for that fairy song. And playing the reset stamp now, he's like, yeah, Kaya got 2 extra cards, 3 extra with her draw for the turn. I can't deal with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna just basically reset your hand. I'm gonna undo my all my mulligans, but that can put him in a really rough position, right? Because he only runs the 1 reset stamp like we talked about.
Yeah, that's down the line though, and right now he's just trying to survive here. Ooh, welder and a Turtonator. At least you'll have a guy to attach that to. Jirachi off the top as well. That could be big. We could see Kaya retreat to the Jirachi and Stellar Wish to try to find a Cherish Ball here.
Yeah, we're going to see that immediately. The hand was kind of weak without the Jirachi, but...
Heat Factory is the choice here. Being able to just, again, draw a bunch of cards, trying to find that Charizard so you can welder to it.
That's exactly what you don't want to see. If you're Grant, you just, you know, you reset your opponent's hand and then they just immediately draw out of it and draw out of it in such a way that gets rid of the power plant. That just gives them so many more outs for the future.
And the Charizard on the 3rd card.
All right, here we go. This is the power of these fire-type decks. We're going to see the Reshiram Charizard hit the board. We're going to see the Welder.
And the way this matchup plays out, too, is Grant's not even going to be able to do damage next turn. He's going to Fairy Song, attach more energy, pass.
She attached already, right?
Yeah, she attached already.
Yeah, it looks like the judges are going to take care of that real quick. All right, easy mistake to fix. And yeah, I mean, that was just, that feels so disheartening when you reset stamp your opponent, get rid of their big hand, and they just do this to you.
Yeah, and with that Jirachi in the active spot, it'll still stick around for next turn, so Kyle will be able to use Stellar Wish again and maybe find another welder. Granted, with that attachment to retreat the Denonade GX, she will not be able to get that turn 2 double blaze for 300 like we saw last game, so maybe a little sigh of relief for Grant here.
Yeah, the energy attachment will end up costing her a little bit of momentum here. And this can be, so Grant's playing the Greens Exploration now, and this can actually be one of the things that could be tricky about Greens Exploration is that you often just have to find another green to kind of keep the chain going, at which point it kind of just becomes search your deck for 1 trainer card.
Yeah, Skylo.
Which is much less powerful, obviously.
Yeah, and there is the Greens Exploration for a Greens, and Grant was eyeing down that tack switch, possibly for next turn. Also was looking at that Wondrous Labyrinth Prism Stadium. One of the best options this deck has for a lot of its matchups, but with Kaya playing so many stadiums in her deck, it's really just not too good.
Yeah, it's not really a stadium you want to stick, even if you can stick a stadium.
Yeah, that's a better stadium to stick in that power plant.
Yeah, Heat Factory Prism Star is gone. Power Plant is fully loaded up here. Getting some energy around the board is Grant. So a better start than last time. It remains to be seen whether or not it'll really be enough in the face of this Reshiram and Charizard tag team.
Yeah, it does get that choice helmet down. It helps to prevent a lot of those two-hit knockouts, but again, Double Blaze does not care.
All right, so we go back to Kaya's turn now. Pokemon Communication is the draw.
That could be pretty good. She would be able to find a Vulpix this turn to try to get a Ninetales set up for later on, especially when she starts attacking. Has the Giant Hearth in her hand as well as a Cherish Ball too. So Kaya's hand is looking pretty sweet here and will probably be using Denine GX for a Denine change this turn.
Yeah, she kind of just has it all here. The Power Plant isn't really going to be a problem. As you said, this Pokemon Communication is immediately going to trade this Victini in for what looks to be a Vulpix, something that has a little bit more impact on the game. And I got to tell you, I've been really impressed with the Ninetales inclusion in this deck. It's just been so strong to kind of, it shows you how strong the repeatable Gust effects are.
Yeah.
We obviously, with the rotation going into the World Championship, we lost the card Guzma, which is just, you know, one of the most powerful versions of the effect ever printed. And Ninetales isn't exactly that, but it has been really interesting to see just how powerful that can be in the decks that are playing towards it.
And opts for a Jirachi instead, really just wants to get multiple Stellar Wishes off. Remember, she still needs to find Welders for the next few turns. But with Ninetales and that 9 Temptations ability, it really just turns any of those 18 fire into custom catchers.
Right, exactly. You run so many fire energy. Again, you know, Ninetales is the card that really restricts your deck building choices, but it's so powerful when you build your deck to support it.
And here we see Turtonator hit the bench. Denine GX discards the Ninetales, drawing 6 brand new cards. Does Kaya hit Welder? Hits an escape board off of that. So she will be able to escape board, retreat to the other Jirachi if she wants to find the Welder still.
Yeah, pair of escape boards in the hand here.
Looks like a Giant Hearth from the top of that first Stellar Wish. Again, already having played one for the turn, but having multiples of those is not bad when you're playing against a deck that has 3 Power Plant.
There's the escape board. We're going to promote the other Jirachi, and this is something that we've seen since Jirachi was printed. Basically, is just this kind of back and forth, multiple Jirachi activations in a turn. This deck isn't actually one of the decks that's really built to do it as much as it has been in some other formats, but you can still do it, and it's very, very powerful when you do.
And here we see
Palpad back the Welder.
Smart play. Palpad shuffling back only 1 Welder, but you want to maximize your chances to get that Welder off this last Stellar Wish here.
All right, let's see it.
Big 5 cards.
Top
And
5
there
cards.
it is.
Immediately the Welder.
2 of them.
2 of them even.
Didn't even need a Palpad yet.
All right, so there's the Welder again. This is what this game is focused on. This is what Kaya's looking to do each and every single turn, is just accelerate as much energy as possible. And that is what she's going to be doing.
So far, her setup has been pretty great here, although a turn slower than she would have liked. Grant will be able to actually get the first attack off next turn.
Going to see that Cherish Ball turn into 2 fire energies. It's going to help out the Welder as well, one of the powers of the Giant Hearth Stadium.
That card has been such a great introduction to all these fire decks. We've seen it played pretty much in every iteration that would play fire energy. It's just such a better upgrade than Viridian Forest.
Yeah, I mean, as if the fire decks needed any more help, right? You're just able to turn your worst card into 2 fire energies. You can make plays like this, where you just load up this big Pokemon GX on the second turn of the game. And that's the thing I love about the fire decks right now, and why I think they're just so well positioned, is just all of this support that they have that the other decks just honestly don't get.
All right, back to Grant's turn. Still has the greens that he searched for the turn prior, drawing into a Cherish Ball as well.
So again, Grant this turn is going to continue that greens exploration chain that we did not see him even get to play one of in the first game. Just Again, really powerful supporter card. This is what Grant wants to do. He's going to get the first attack off here. He's been playing supporters consistently every turn. He's been able to search his deck for what he feels like he needs throughout the game, and he's just hoping that doesn't continue on and carry him to tie up the match.
Yeah, the thing is, though, Kaya's hand is now untouchable because he played that reset stamp turn 1. So he is definitely going to have to come up with some unique plays here to get around that Reshiram and Charizard GX and its Double Blaze for 300. Looks like he's opting for a Custom Catcher and his last Greens Exploration off of this Greens for the turn. So looking to double Custom Catcher that Charizard into the active spot maybe.
Yeah, Cherish Volley is going to find another copy of the only Pokemon that he plays, just that Tag Team GX. And yet, I think this game's really going to come down to that whether or not playing that reset stamp on turn 1 is going to come back to bite him. Will Kaya get ahead and Grant will not be able to respond? We do see the double Custom Catcher here.
All right, brings up that Reshiram and Charizard. It is pretty good because you don't want to lose 3 prizes and then have Kaya do a 2-hit knockout with this before you can even knock it out. So getting damage on it is good, even though it has that outrage attack.
Yeah, so and 1 tag switch later, and we are going to see that Reshiram and Charizard take 150 damage.
Yeah, and we see the Kaleido Storm here, moving any number of energy from your Pokemon to your other Pokemon in any way you like. We see 2 move to the bench, Gardevoir and Sylveon GX. And that is pretty great here because the active will get knocked out almost for sure.
Yeah, Grant really just gets a chance to protect his active, keep the energy in play, and say, all right, well, you can take this knockout here, but I'm going to have almost all my energy just safely on the bench here to continue the onslaught next turn.
Yeah, and one thing he does have to watch out for is that Turtonator down on Kaya's bench. It does have the potential to take a big one-hit knockout on these tag teams, really reminiscent of Blacephalon GX's Mind Blown attack, but instead of putting them in the Lost Zone, you discard them.
All right, so even better. Blacephalon GX, also a deck that we saw perform really well here. Kind of similar, gets to use a lot of the same fire tricks, but Kaya has, of course, chosen to go with the big, beefy Tag Team GX. And it may just lead her to a World Championship victory.
All right, 6th energy coming down on the active Reshiram and Charizard GX. Double Blaze is almost a for sure thing to happen. One thing Kaya does not seem to have in her hand, though, is a Welder. So running a little slow on that area, but taking the knockout. 3 big prizes here, too. Ooh, does she get the Welder from the prizes? No.
Well, the Welder is still stuck there. This Charizard or Reshiram and Charizard does have a lot of damage on it, of course. But 3 prizes remain. Kaya just needs to knock out any Pokemon in Grant's deck, and she will be crowned world champion. But I think Grant will have something to say about that, of course.
Being able to take the knockout here on this Reshiram and Charizard this turn, and then potentially setting up another Gardevoir and Sylveon GX on the bench, that's when it's really the best at, because now Kaya has no way to take a big one-hit knockout outside of Turtonator or maybe Victini Prism Star. So he knows those outs, and he has to play around it. Taking the knockout here, 0 energy on Kaya's board, pretty good. Then he can start playing his normal game, super scoop-ups, great potions, all that stuff.
All right, so he basically just needs to eliminate the threat of this big Reshiram and Charizard, and then say, okay, well, now you have to take a little bit of a turn off. I get to kind of play my game, and if everything goes right for Grant, that grindy kind of super scoop up, kind of making it so that Kaya just can't take those knockouts is what's going to lead him to victory.
Yeah, and grabbing the Wondrous Labyrinth here with his last Greens exploration. If the stadium can stick, it can really put a detriment into Kaya's plans for these next few turns.
Yeah, not only will she not have any energy in play, but just that's even going to tax her energy even more. So, it seems like Grant may be in a winning position here.
Right, and this is looking pretty good. There's the knockout, Kaleido Storm. Going down to 3 prizes as well, and he'll be picking up a couple Coach Trainer from the prizes. This is what he's really been missing. He hasn't really been able to get that critical mass of cards in his hand here, and with all of his Greens exploration gone, This is the perfect time for those coach trainer.
Yeah, he needed those coach trainers here, and he found them. No more Green's exploration. Now he's just going to be just rolling in card advantage, trying to accumulate as many cards as he can to, again, execute his game plan, do what he wants to do, put Kaya on the back foot, and make her play his game.
Hold on, though. Kaya is doing a ton of math here. How many fire energies are in the discard? I believe I counted maybe 8 or 9 already. This would put it somewhere close to double digits. If she's able to get a replacement stadium, the Victini Prism, and Welder with just the 13 energy in the discard, I believe, then she would be able to take the knockout and become world champion.
All right, tense moment for Kaya here. I did see the Victini Prism Star was in the deck, excuse me, but I don't know if she has a replacement stadium.
Yeah, even has that Pokemon communication. It's really gonna come. Oh, there's the replacement stadium. Giant Hearth in her
She's
hand.
just doing the math now.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, 3 more need to hit the discard, plus a Welder and 2 from her hand. Can she pull it off? Ton of energy in her hand.
It looks like she's going to recheck the math here. Very, very big, tense moment here, deciding whether to go for that Victini play. Can she do it? She has to run the numbers. It looks like we're going to start things off with a replacement stadium.
Yeah, Giant Hearth is definitely where you need to start off with. Wondrous Labyrinth would have just killed any chances of actually using Infinity this turn.
Here we see that fire energy getting traded away. Not going to take anything, just putting it in the discard pile.
All right, this is going to be a big Stellar Wish here. Looking for Welder possibly for the game this turn, depending on what she's able to cobble together.
All right, here we go. Stellar Wish. Top 5 cards of her deck. Are they going to be favorable for her?
Ooh, hits the Welder.
Is it the Welder?
So this is awkward. I don't think she has enough discard outlets to get everything in the discard. She would need to Welder into another way to discard a couple energy. She might be opting for the Acrobike, maybe. Okay, no.
No, I think that's way too greedy. The Welder is still strong. That's what she's going to take here. Even if she can't get that big Victini play this turn, this does put her in a pretty good position. Again, Welder is the name of the game. Welder is so important, and that's what is found off the Stellar Wish.
Pulling that Pokemon communication to the front of her hand. Victini Prism almost for sure is gonna be her source to victory here, especially because it does not give up 3 prizes like a Reshiram and Charizard GX.
Yeah, Kaya deep in the tank here, just considering what to do. A very tense turn, a lot going on here.
Yeah, it looks like she also might just be choosing for the Reshiram and playing the slow game, take the 2-hit. There's no way for Grant to actually take a 1-hit knockout on her own tag team.
Yeah, it's not so much about Grant potentially taking a 1-hit knockout. It's just, do you want to play the slow game and just, buy into healing effects or scoop of effects or whatever it may be from Grant.
All right, well, there's the Welder. Draws 3 cards into another Welder and a switch. We'll be able to dig through a deck a little bit more with that switch if she chooses to. But I think with that Welder, could potentially lock up this game with the Turtonator next turn.
All right, so from 0 energy to 3, Kaya does attach them all to that Reshiram and Charizard. She's going to go ahead and retreat the Jirachi.
Oh, looks
Another
like
Stellar Wish.
Switch or Acrobike are her options here. Has both in the hand. Could just go with Acrobike. You could potentially get more fire energy in the discard for next turn if Victini is still an option, just in case something goes horribly awry next turn.
And it seems like we might be in a position here. I mean, there's still a lot of game to be played, but we might be in a spot here where even Grant wanted to do what he did. He's trying to execute his game plan, but it may not be enough versus this incredibly explosive Reshiram and Charizard deck.
Skateboard number 2 coming down on that Jirachi. It is now pulling off some cool tricks, staying in the active spot. And Grant now, the writing's on the wall. if he had his reset stamp here, it could be pretty good. But knowing Kaya has, or us knowing Kaya has a welder in hand, it does not look good at all.
Yeah, again, this game just come down to that fact that Grant had to play that reset stamp, or felt he had to, at least in the first turn, reset the hand, but it did come back to bite him, as it's an important part of his strategy to be able to limit what Kaya is able to do with her hand, and it might actually spell disaster for him here.
Is Welder best girl in Pokemon?
Welder's the best everything in Pokemon. I think we'll be saying that for a long time to come.
All right, first coach trainer of the match here for Grant, but it's a little too late. Staring down 3 energy Reshiram Charizard, but we know that Turtonator is coming in huge next turn.
There's a Pokegear. Looks like it might find excuse me, might find another coach trainer off the Pokegear here. So if Grant got to play more turns of this game, he would be pretty set up to draw a bunch of cards and kind of go off, but it doesn't look like he's going to get the opportunity to.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate that the way this deck is paired up against this Reshiram Charizard deck, you really just have to play the game of, yeah, I hope my opponent cannot take this knockout when I have no damage on me, but you can do it twice. Oh, man, it's rough.
It's a very, very rough, unfortunate position for Grant to be in here.
All right, well, there we see the Kaleido Storm going down to 2 prizes for Grant here. Moves the energy, but Kaya has that game in hand. You'll see her move pretty quickly. Does need a couple more energy, though, but has that Giant Hearth.
I'm going to go ahead and trade that Jirachi in for some energy.
There's 2 energy
left.
Welder will come down on that Turtonator. Energy for the turn here, and Kaya is just an attack away from becoming your senior division world champion.
There's the handshake. Kaya has become your senior world champion. This is her moment. She's done it. She's
toward who?
Yeah,
it's all about Kaya.
I don't
Look at that. Such amazing play with such a beautiful deck. Wow.
Kaya, League Lightner, this is her moment. This is the pinnacle of the game. She is your TCG senior world champion.
Look at that, ecstatic.
Deserving
she
one
has
at that.
been up on the top for the junior division all throughout the time. Now she has shown she is the top of the senior division. Can she be stopped?
I am here with world champion Kaya. How does it feel to hear your name next to world champion?
It's amazing. It was my dream for a few years, and to stand here is just amazing.
What have you done this year to prepare to get to this point?
I'm playing a lot with my brother and with another family, and it's just fun to play for me, and I love it.
Now, a lot of people are looking at you and talking already about your future, saying, watch out, Masters Division, Kaya is coming for you. They're saying you can't be stopped. What is your hope for the future in Pokemon?
I got a few more years in the senior division, but I hope that I can play in the Masters too and don't lose too much.
Yeah, absolutely. What is your advice for all of these people who are looking to you now as the goal, the person to be like? What is your advice for them in Pokemon?
Just do what you
Just practice a lot?
Yeah, practice, do what you want to do, and just have fun.
Yeah, having fun, and it looks like you're having a great time. You're all smiles, and there's so many people out here hugging you. Do you want to say hello, thank you to anybody?
I want to say thank you to my mother, to my brothers, and to the family, Summer, Faisal, and yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Congratulations again, Kaya. Thank you to everyone here supporting.